Well, I have another weird update for the Snow White trailer. They just released the brand new one, which makes you wonder why they're calling it a live action movie to begin with. More on that later. But for now, all I have to say is yikes.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast and consider becoming a channel member. After releasing it to theaters with Wicked, Disney has finally released another trailer for Snow White, the remake, of course, starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as her evil stepmother. Now, I'm not going to do the usual describing of the trailer like I usually do. I think you can go and find it yourself. For me, what's the most interesting thing about this is how much the trailer has been disliked. The article I'm about to read goes into detail of the last count or the likes to dislikes ratio. But when I sat down to record this video, just beforehand, I wanted to say, hey, as of the recording, it's now at this number. But it seems that they have disabled the dislike count. So I can't see how much it's been disliked. But kudos to Disney, they've left the comment section open and it is pure gold. Covering the dislike ratio is That Park Place. Rachel Zegler's live action Disney Snow White reboot trailer has finally been released on YouTube, and Disney fans are flocking to the video to voice their displeasure. The video has garnered more than 195,000 dislikes in less than a day. The like to dislike ratio for a video can tell you a lot about how audiences feel. If you have more likes than dislikes, then you have a generally favorable reputation with the audience. But when the dislikes outnumber the likes by a wide margin, it might be time to panic. It's safe to say that Disney might panic after the Snow White's trailer's initial YouTube launch. The video currently sits at 16,000 likes and a whopping 195,000 dislikes. Disney held the Snow White trailer back for several weeks, releasing it in theaters alongside box office hits like Wicked and Moana 2. However, the company purposely avoided posting the trailer publicly online until, well, they say yesterday, but I'm a day or two behind. Many believe that this was because Disney feared the exact reaction the viewers are having to the trailer right now. YouTube typically hides dislikes on its videos to the general public. However, they're still accessible with certain browser extensions that cover the ratio and even highlights the discrepancy with green and red lines. This isn't the first time Snow White has achieved such a ratio. The last teaser trailer for the big budget Rachel Zegler live action remake currently sits at 99,000 likes to more than 1.4 million dislikes. So I want you to head on over to thatparkplace.com. They've got a ton of great news regarding the entertainment industry. Head on over there and be sure to look up this article to read the rest of it if you're interested. As fellow YouTuber Yellow Flash pointed out, what is most interesting about this Snow White movie in particular is you have Gal Gadot. And listen, I'm not throwing shade at Gal Gadot, but she doesn't have a lot of range as an actress, but she seems very well liked by the general public. Rachel Zegler, on the other hand, seems to have decent amount of talent. She's been in several different genre movies and she has a good singing voice. I'm just being honest here. However, she seems to be radically disliked. Now, why is that? Well, for one thing, Gal Gadot, in all of her interviews that she does, she comes off as very personable, very nice, very generous. I love hearing the story of how she got the call that she was cast as Wonder Woman. Zegler, on the other hand, comes off as a spoiled, entitled Hollywood brat who just wants everything to be her way. And I really think that permeated into the marketing of this movie. A lot of people think that's why she got cut from the most recent Paddington Bear movie. Now, they blamed the actor strike for that, but the film seemingly was immune to it because they got another actress to replace her and filmed during the strike, or at least partially during the strike. When I last checked this, just to update the numbers, it was actually 23K likes. And like I said, they had disabled the dislike counter. So it could be even higher than 195,000, according to that Park Place article. I think what's so sad is that Snow White is seen as what launched the Disney brand. They had been doing shorts lots of times. They had done a couple of TV shows, and I think they had done one or two films at this point. I'm trying to remember, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was what launched Walt Disney Pictures as a wholesome American brand. It was something that the founder of the company, Walt Disney, was very proud of. A lot of people see Snow White as the first Disney princess, as she deserves. A lot of them have come and gone since then, but Snow White has been a constant. So to then take it and give it a live action remake where you bend to modern day sensibilities and not even really mainstream sensibilities. They're just appealing to a small little group of whiny brats who are akin to Rachel Zegler, who exist in the spaces of Blue Sky, Mastodon, Tumblr, maybe some on Instagram and Threads, but they don't represent the general public as a whole. And this is what I always tell people: social media is not real life. Yes, it can infect real life, it can bleed over into real life. But I guarantee you, a lot of those anonymous trolls who have creepily made their online avatars underage cartoon girls are not worth your time. I remember back when this movie was first announced and I heard that Gal Gadot was attached, I thought, oh, she's perfect to play an older, more mature Snow White. She's perfect for that. That they could cast someone who is an older actress than her to play the evil stepmother and whatnot. It would be awesome. But then I heard that they were casting Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and she just doesn't look like the part. And this trailer in particular kind of highlights that. The way they did her hair, it doesn't look natural. A lot of people in the comment section were comparing it to Lord Farquaad from Shrek. And also, the CGI for the dwarves is so bad that I actually think that they were added later, probably during reshoots, because they did have some reshoots once the Film Actors Guild ceased their ridiculous strike this last time. They did do some. Because remember that image leaked where it was these 7 random people who look like homeless people walking alongside Snow White, and they did this because Peter Dinklage went on an interview and started saying how he's upset that Disney is casting people with dwarfism as dwarves, not realizing that dwarves in the context of Snow White are fantasy creatures, not actual humans who have the condition of dwarfism. And a lot of people within the people with dwarfism community were very outraged, saying, hey, you don't speak for us. And of course he doesn't, but he's a Hollywood celebrity, so he thinks that he can say things like this against or for his own community, which of course he does not. We see this happen all the time with Hollywood celebrities say, oh, I represent a certain segment of the population, and that segment of the population is like, no, you most certainly do not. We saw this with the Latin X explosion, right? When a bunch of overly educated liberal professors, most of whom were white, were saying, oh, Latina and Latino, that's outdated. So we're going to say Latin X, which isn't even in Spanish or Latin for that matter. But the Hispanic community fought back and said, no, we like saying Latino. We like saying Latina. You don't get to judge us. But we saw people in Hollywood sphere try to really ram that up and say, oh, I represent this community. No, you don't. You're a Hollywood celebrity. You don't even know what it's like to be in that community anymore. And we see this with Snow White, where Rachel Zegler's like, oh, I'm Gen Z. I'm out and proud. I represent them. I'm the fairest. She actually said that she posted a picture of herself as Juliet. I guess she was Juliet in a stage adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. Good for her, I guess. And she's like, still the fairest. And you just see when she's being interviewed, just the entitlement, the spoiled brat. You know, the prince is a stalker. I didn't like the original movie. And then, of course, she kind of backtracked from that. I guess she got a call from her agent. And then when President Trump got elected, she did that tirade in her Instagram story saying, you know, you're not my customer. I wish you no peace. All of this nonsense. Now, she did apologize, but you can tell that it was written by a publicist, not by her. It was not sincere at all. And I really think that Disney should have considered just pushing this movie off onto Disney Plus and just cut their losses. I don't know what else to do at this point because I'm not feeling any buzz for this remake. And of course, they burned all those bridges, right? Now, some of them were successful, like The Lion King, which wasn't actually a live action remake because they just did it with CGI, just tried to make the animals look photorealistic. But when people actually went and saw it, they were excited about it, but then when they actually saw it, they were like, well, the animals can't emote." Well, of course not, because their faces aren't animated in that special 2D. Same with thing happened with The Jungle Book. They were initially box office successful, but then you see that sharp decline, especially when people got wind of the messaging that was in these movies. It wasn't about Walt Disney family values, bringing the family together, being united, being American. It wasn't like that at all. They were pushing these woke morals, which are just immoral. They're not actually any sort of value. That is not Walt Disney. That is not Disney Company, because we see that woke ideology is losing battles. Just the reaction to this trailer, we're sure there are some people defending it, but let's be real. The reaction is not what Disney was expecting, especially with their spoiled brat star running around calling iconic characters weird, and whatnot. So I have a feeling that the movie will do okay. I don't think it'll bomb. I think people will go to see it kind of out of general curiosity. And if the movie is actually good, it might pick up on its second week. We saw this happen with Venom The Last Dance. People were so worn out on superhero movies being terrible and superhero shows being terrible that the first week of Venom, or Venom 3, people were saying that it was a bomb, but then it picked up on week 2. Same thing happened with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The first week it didn't do that well, but then word of mouth kind of helped it. I will see it, obviously. If anything, it'll be a number to add to either my top 10 best, my top 10 worst list of 2025, or not at all. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm not looking forward to it like I usually do with these kinds of movies. And I hope that Disney will learn a really powerful lesson. But I think the more powerful lesson is going to come when Captain America Brave New World arrives. And don't worry, I watched this shirt since last I wore it for a vidcast. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Head on over to my website, StudioJakeMedia.com. It's totally free and there are no ads. You can subscribe through your email or through the WordPress app, and you get daily, at least, sometimes more, but you get at least daily reviews and commentary. So head on over, sign up. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience, and you will get all kinds of cool stuff. If you want to support me, head on over to my locals community. The link is in the description of the video. You can sign up for a monthly subscription, or you can leave me tips for articles I post there, including exclusives, not to mention my short stories that I post there. Another way you can support me is by purchasing one or all 4 of my books. I've got the supernatural thriller Cacophony, A Tale of Faith and Fear. It's about a group of demons called the Gregoria who are sent to take over a town in Texas, but God sends the 7 archangels to defend the town, who will win in the end. I also got the 7 Royals series. We've got the 7 Royals All Good Things and its sequel Breaking the Stars. It is part of a Dark Army trilogy that follow your favorite fairy tale characters. And listen, nothing woke about these fairy tale characters. They have to battle a dark army of vampire, of orcs, of werewolves in order to save their kingdoms. Last but certainly not least is my novella Blessed Child. Is a fantasy romance about a elf princess who is pregnant with a human child, causing conflicts in her kingdom, and the disgraced knight whom her father hires to protect her. It is action, it is romantic. You will love it. And best of all, with all of my books, if your children are 12 and older, you can read right along with them. There's enough really good depth for the adult audience, but I kept it clean, nothing gratuitous, so your children can enjoy it as well. Again, if they're 12 and up, so you can read them along as a family. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.